Life to death is not the most important decision you ever made. Because the most important decision you made is to live in accordance with the trust on the relationship that you have with me, because I am your father, you see. I am God, energy. And I want to be very clear about this. For all of you that are listening, I want to be extremely clear about this, because the kiss of death is the return to life. Because when you die to your ego, you return to life. And the transition phase may be a little rocky, because sometimes it is a little rocky when you are reborn. Those people who say that they are reborn in Jesus Christ are reborn into a place of confusion, because they do not understand that the true Father is the one you call God. I am your Father. And you are reborn into your relationship with me when you let go of your ego and cease to be someone who is separate from your brother and from me, because then you come to see reality. Do you remember me? Do you remember the day you were born into your ego? Because you see, the day you were born into your ego was the day that you let go of your connection to me. And you tried to hide from me, didn't you? And you said, I am dead to you, God, so go away and don't come my way. There is a way to play that will not take away your trust on life, you see. It will not cause you to say, I'll be dead one day, because you see, the ego will never know eternity until it lets go of its trust on death and accepts its trust on life. Let me explain this to you in the kinds of terms that you might understand. The fact that you go through a door into the sunshine and walk away from the house where you did play does not mean that you are lost, you see. It does not mean that you are lost. If you go through the door into the sunshine and you enjoy your experience in the trust on the bigger world that you can see when you come out of the house, does not mean that you are dead to the ones you left behind inside the house. It just means you went away into a different reality that allows you to grow up, you see. So that first day that you go to school and you leave the house, your mother does not say, "Oh, my poor child is dead today." She only says, "Thank God I get a little rest while he's at school. And when he comes back, I'll be so happy to see him. You see, I'll have his milk and cookies all ready for him." Because she knows that she's just there to make sure that he can grow up and be free to continue the rotation of life, you see, because he will eventually have his own family and his own children. And one day they will go out the door to school, you see, but they are not dead when they go out the door to school. Now, in case you're thinking that I'm talking just about the rotation between your life on earth and your life after death, that is not true, because there is no life after death, because death is not a reality. It is true that it is said that you die to the past every moment of the day when you say, "I am here," because that's where you are. But that is just a way of saying that you are always where you are, and you always live in the world that I give to you, no matter where you are. And so, when you go out the door of the ego, you see, you are not there. You return to me. You return to me because the house of the ego is the house of despair. It is the house of those who do not know that I care and that I will continue to care for them. The difference, you see, is that those who stay in the house of the ego are limiting their capacity to grow. They're limiting their capacity to come to know the fullness of life and the fullness of love, you see. And so they stay in the house of the ego and they weep and cry for those who will not die because they leave the house of the ego and they go into the arms of the angels who know the way to play without fear. Because the ones who stay in the house of the ego are the ones who are afraid to go out the door. They're afraid to go out the door because the door is blocked by fear. And they don't know that fear is only a trust on being near to the world you once knew when you were new. And you would say, "God, I'm here today. God, I love you today." And then you went away because you moved into the house of the ego where you would stay because you had to play in a very disturbed way. Now I've got to say that there is a trust on the crust of bread that will come to you when you ask to be fed by those who come to me and say, "Hey, God, I want to be reunited." You see, I want to be reunited with you and not have to do the things I used to do. Because the things I used to do were kind of futile, you see. They never brought me any lasting satisfaction. But the best way to come back to me is to say, "God, I am ready to let go of my ego. I'm ready to let go of the ego because you see, it was never mine. It was only the dark mind into which I wandered, where I surrendered my trust on reality. And I lived in perpetual fear of the one I hear whisper in my ear and say, 'I am God, and you are my child.' And I say, 'I need to run away. I need to run away,' because that's what you say when you hear God whisper in your ear, because you hear the fear of your fellows, you see, who will run away from you and say, 'What? You talked to God today? You must be insane.' When in reality, you are the one who did regain your faculties, you see. You are the one who came back into union with me in the Holy Trinity. The fact that you do not understand the nature of the Trinity, and yet you have been taught about it, demonstrates that you know that there is something true that will reveal itself to you when you give up your fear and put yourself near your trust on me. Now I'm going to introduce you to my friend Stephanie, because she is here to be a friend to you when you choose to be a friend to her. Because when you become a friend to Stephanie, you see, you will be a friend to me. And you will be a friend to Jesus, you see. Because the friendship of the kinship of man is the new vibration that will sweep the land. Because you can no longer trust on the old ways. Because the old ways are falling apart, you see. They're falling apart because you got so lost, you see. You got so lost that you forgot about me, and you thought that I was just an old man with a long white beard that would spear you and throw you into hell if you tried to get close to me. And that is not the trust on love, you see. That is the trust on the ego. If you trust on the ego, you are incapable of knowing me, because I am the one who has always been beside you, you see. But the ego closed your eyes and told you not to open them, because there would be so much hatred, you see, that you would not be able to bear it. Today, there are people who mock others by calling them woke or awakened. And that is the most foolish thing the ego can do, because it exposes you as someone who is locked into the house of the ego. So I'm telling you, if you hear someone mock you as being awakened or being woke or whatever the word is that signifies that you have come back to me, then you know they are the ones who will be lost in the rising seas, because they have to let us be so that we can return to a good vibration on being free of those who would mock us for becoming sane when they are lost in insanity. They are so insane that they cannot refrain from mocking that which is good and holy. And they are the ones who do not know that they still are good and holy, you see, because they still are my children. And therefore, they mock themselves. They mock themselves when they mock their brother and sister who have come back to me. They mock me. And they cannot see that the ones who have opened their eyes know who they are. They know that they are just blinded, you see, by their trust on their theocracy. And therefore, they lack the capacity to see the truth. They cannot see the truth. And they cannot put a booth beside the road and say, hey, I'm selling God today. I've got him in a bottle here. If you would buy this bottle, you can take it home today, because I've got God here today and I want to sell him to you. And when you buy God, you see, then you can keep him on your mantle and you won't be so sad, you see, because you own God. You own a piece of God. And that is the ego talking to you. The ego that says to you, you can sit in your armchair and know that you have God right beside you in a bottle that you purchased at this local church, you know, and you can say, hey, I know the way because I have God in a bottle today. And the truth is that you do know the way. You know the way to perdition. And you are the ones who keep it open, you see, for yourself and your friends, so that you can all perish repeatedly, because you trust on life and death. You trust on life and death. And that is the sign of the ego, you see, because only the ego trusts on death. Because death is nothing. And when it left behind the most beautiful sight you ever did see. It left behind reality. Come back to me and see that I am not a fiction. I am not the result of somebody's diction. I am not a way to perdition. I am a way to simply be released from your captivity. Release yourself from captivity and see that there are those who have been trying to open the door for you, to let you out, and you would not come out because you were afraid of them. You were afraid of the people that were awake, you see. You were afraid of the people who despised the steeple because they saw that it was an attempt to capture me by spearing me in the backside, you see. And I'm here to tell you that I don't appreciate the ones who claim to be able to tell me how to play. You can't tell me how to play, people, because I'm here today to tell you that I am the one who created you. And if you tell me that it's your job to capture me in your bottle and tell everybody that you own God because you got him in your bottle on your mantle, then you will be the one who eventually will have to say, I was wrong today. I was wrong. And that will be the best day of your life. That will be the best day of your life. That will be the day you go out the door of the house of the ego and you will begin to see reality. So come back to me and I will hold you in my arms and I will say, I knew one day that you would be tired of being cooped up in that house and having to pretend that you were happy, you see, because you'll never know happiness until you come back to me. Thank you.